American Pickers Frank Fritz's store in limbo after stroke. Frank Fritz's store's future is revealed amid his massive stroke. Just a week ago, the original American Pickers cast member was hospitalized, and he's currently fighting for his life. However, each day continues to get better as fans rally around the fan favorite. The details of his antique store have been revealed. What happened to Frank Fritz? On Thursday, July 14, Frank Fritz suffered a stroke at his home. At the time of this writing, he remains in the hospital as he recovers. Mike Wolfe is the only member of the American Pickers cast who spoke out about Frank on social media. He asked fans to pray during this time. Mike was distraught over the news despite their difficult history together. Their friendship fell apart at the height of the show's popularity. Fans aren't buying Mike's sympathetic social media post and called him out for his fakery. What about his Iowa-based antique store? Frank Fritz is the sole owner of his Illinois-based store. The antique store is called Frank Fritz Finds, which sells antiques and collectibles. Per The Sun, the store will remain open amid the store's hospitalization. Frank Fritz Finds will remain open. It is located in the Hog Dog Bar and Grill, an insider told The Sun. As long as the restaurant is open, fans will be able to visit the antique store. Frank hired a crew of people to help out with the store. He improved the store before his health scare. As TV shows Ace previously reported, Frank's antique store received poor reviews when he took a step back from it. Recently, reviews have improved and customers are happier with the selection of merchandise. Frank Fritz turned his life around after firing. In July 2021, the History Channel fired Frank Fritz from American Pickers. During that time, he was resting from grueling back surgery. Frank managed to turn his life around. He last appeared in a March 2020 episode, when the show commanded higher ratings than it does these days. Fans vowed to boycott the series. They think the show is nothing without Frank running the show. They loved his personality and candor with Mike. However, their ongoing feud is probably what led to his termination. In another TV show's Ace report, Frank Fritz was desperate to get back to work on American Pickers. He lost weight and entered rehab for alcohol abuse during his time off. He managed to stay positive and start a new footing. Frank admitted that he's done some dumb things in his life, but never revealed if that contributed to his firing. Frank Fritz, beloved co-host of American Pickers, was once the face of antique hunting adventures, zipping through rural backroads and picking through dusty barns, uncovering hidden treasures from America's past. Fans adored his easygoing nature, his keen eye for picking the best deals, and his palpable chemistry with co-star Mike Wolfe. But in recent years, things have drastically changed for Frank, culminating in a life-altering stroke that left his fans worried and his once thriving store in a state of uncertainty. A stroke of tragedy. Frank's stroke in July 2022 shocked fans and the antique community alike. Known for his rugged determination and boundless energy, the news of his severe health crisis seemed almost surreal. This wasn't the Frank who effortlessly dug through rusty piles of forgotten relics and transformed them into valuable finds. The stroke sidelined him from both the show and the business, forcing him into a long and difficult recovery process. In the aftermath, Frank's antique archaeology store, a beloved spot for collectors and fans of American Pickers, faced an uncertain future. While Mike Wolfe's store in Nashville continued to thrive with tourist traffic and fan visits, Frank's shop, once a hub for rare collectibles and curious buyers, seemed to stand in limbo. Questions arose. Could the store survive without its charismatic owner? Would Frank's recovery allow him to return to managing the shop? Or would it slowly fade into obscurity without his presence? The store that held memories. Frank Fritz's store wasn't just a place of business. It was a reflection of the man himself. Located in his hometown of Davenport, Iowa, the shop was filled with vintage signs, old toys, oil cans, and the countless pieces of Americana he had amassed over years of picking. Visitors would often wander in, hoping for a glimpse of Frank, maybe snagging a handshake or an autograph while perusing relics from the past. Over the years, Frank had built a reputation as not just a savvy businessman, but as someone who truly appreciated the stories behind the antiques. Each item had its own history, and Frank loved nothing more than sharing that knowledge with anyone who walked through his doors. His store was filled not just with goods, but with memories of cross-country road trips, bargaining with stubborn sellers, and unearthing items that told the story of America's forgotten corners. Yet as Frank's health took a turn for the worse, the store's future seemed uncertain. With Frank out of the picture, at least temporarily, who would carry on the torch? Could the store survive without its heart and soul behind the counter? Mike Wolf steps in. Mike Wolf, Frank's longtime co-host and friend, knew the importance of the store to Frank's legacy. Despite their well-documented falling out, Mike expressed genuine concern and support for Frank following his stroke. Publicly, he shared updates on Frank's recovery and urged fans to rally around him during this difficult time. Privately, however, there were whispers of tension surrounding the store. Would Mike, with his own busy schedule and commitments, step in to help manage Frank's store? Or would he let it drift in uncertainty? Some speculated that Mike might use his influence to keep the store afloat, perhaps even merging it with his Nashville location. But for others, the idea of Frank's store losing its independence didn't sit right. This wasn't just any store. It was Frank's passion project, his personal slice of the American dream, and merging it with Mike's might dilute that unique charm. The community rallies. As news of Frank's stroke spread, the antique community and fans of American pickers came together, offering their support in various ways. Online, forums buzzed with ideas on how to help keep the store open, from fundraisers to online auctions. Collectors who had long admired Frank's expertise shared stories of meeting him, hoping to keep his legacy alive in the face of adversity. Locally, the Davenport community, which had watched Frank grow from a local boy with a love of junk to a national TV star, rallied around his store. Volunteers offered to help with the day-to-day running of the shop, ensuring that its doors remained open even while Frank focused on his recovery. Yet despite the goodwill, there was still no clear path forward. Frank's absence left a noticeable void, and many visitors who stopped by couldn't help but feel the weight of his missing presence. The items were still there. The old signs, the vintage motorcycles, the rare oil cans. But the spark that Frank brought to them, the stories he could tell, were absent. What does the future hold? For now, the fate of Frank Fritz's store remains in limbo. While the doors remain open, it's unclear how long it can continue without Frank's guiding hand. Some fans hold out hope that Frank will recover enough to return, even in a limited capacity, to once again breathe life into the shop he built with his own two hands. Others worry that, without a clear plan, the store may slowly fade, much like the relics Frank once rescued from obscurity. There's also the possibility that Frank, should he recover, may decide to move in a different direction entirely. After all, the stroke has undoubtedly forced him to reconsider his priorities. Perhaps the days of managing a physical store are behind him, and he'll opt for a quieter life, away from the pressures of business and television. Whatever the future holds, one thing is certain. Frank Fritz's contribution to the world of antiques and American pickers is undeniable. His store, whether it remains open or closes its doors for good, will forever be a testament to his passion for preserving history and his ability to see beauty in the forgotten. For now, the store remains in limbo, much like Frank's future itself, uncertain but filled with the hope that, like one of his many picks, it will find a new purpose and continue to tell its own story for years to come. Fans, collectors, and friends alike can only wait, watching and hoping for the day when Frank Fritz can once again step into his store, greet a curious customer, and share the story behind the next great find.